Hey, this is Pam Perry, and we have another PR celebrity guest today, I guess you would say, because she works with celebrities. So I call her a PR publicist that is also a celebrity, Jojo Pada. And so she's going to be with us today. But let me just give you a little bit about who Jojo is. She's had over 13 years experience in the entertainment industry. Then she opened the doors to her PR firm, Ignition PR, in 2006. So it's been almost 20 years. And then she believes that publicity, production, and marketing is the start of something new, something inspired, and something special. The company's goal is to pioneer cutting edge faith based projects that will spread the gospel of Jesus Christ to the mass media through creative production ideas, national press campaigns, and strategic partnerships with key industry and media outlets. So previously, she was the VP of Publicity of Light Records and Senior Director of Publicity at Zomba Gospel. And she spent 9 years really learning and dominating and crafting press campaigns for the gospel industry. She's worked with a number of superstars such as Donnie McClurkin, John P. Key, Fred Hammond, Detroit, Marvin Sapp, Metro Detroit, Deitrick Haddon, Detroit. No, I'll just say Donald Lawrence, Hezekiah Walker, Virtue, Commission, Detroit, Tonex, Richard Smallwood. You got the Clark Sisters, Detroit, and Shirley Caesar, all of those, and a host of others. She brings a wealth of practical experience and acute awareness of the gospel faith based marketplace and her new venture. So, right after this, we're going to bring up JoJo.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there, how are you?
Hey, I'm in the room. Hi.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. JoJo, thank you so much for joining us today. I called you a celebrity publicist, but it's because you work with a lot of celebrities, gospel celebrities. So I say that because I was teasing you about the Detroit people, because Detroit thinks they're like the headquarters for all things gospel, right? We got the Clark sisters and Wine and Fred, and Marvin is actually from Grand Rapids, but we claim him too.
And he claims Detroit, so
yes, he does. He does. So I was just teasing you about that. But you've been doing this for a while, and I've seen you around. I think I even saw you at Straight Gate Church one time. I think when Fred was there, my husband was taking pictures and things like that. He was behind the scenes and doing that. But you've been doing this for a while, and it starts out, at the very basic with good talent, and then matching them to the media. So tell us a little bit about how and why you got into this whole space, and we'll dig into a little bit about what happened recently too with the slap between Will and Chris Rock, because we talk about is all publicity good publicity. But give me your background of how you started and got an interest in all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to join you and to talk about PR. I love PR. It's all I've ever done. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I love your platform. I appreciate you giving the behind the scenes people some attention and giving them a platform to share what they know. So for me, I've been doing publicity. I graduated from USC in California with a PR degree. I went to their School of Journalism, and I graduated in 1994. So I know that it totally ages me, but I feel like I can't hide it anymore.
I got 10 years on you. I think I was like 84. So
right. And then, so right after college, I actually had the honor and the fortuitous opportunity to work with Terry Williams, who many know that Terry was a groundbreaking Black publicist in the 80s and 90s. I mean, she truly opened the doors for so many of us in the entertainment space. Yeah, and I started out as an intern for Terry, and then from there, I ended up getting an account executive position and then moving up and doing different things. But I wanted to shout her out because I think if anybody does watch this and anyone has worked with Terry or have been around Terry, they know that that was truly like boot camp. I,
Mhm.
almost wish that every young publicist, every starter publicist would have the opportunity that I did to work for somebody like Terry, because she really taught you the practical, important things about publicity, about relationship building, about understanding the news, understanding story angles,
Mhm.
um, connecting with press, and crafting the right pitch, and all of the really necessary things that we need to know in our business. So from there I had a couple of other jobs, but I always say that every job I had led to my next job.
Mm.
um and so I was at Terry for a little while, and then from Terry I had
Did
the
just real quick,
oh,
Jojo, did
yeah,
Terry have her book at that time?
she
The
did.
personal
The
she did.
Personal Touch.
The Personal Touch. I love that book. When she wrote The Personal Touch, I didn't know her, until the book, and then I reached out to her, and she
Oh,
began to mentor me as well.
yeah,
That's how
that
much
was the
I
point of the
love.
book. That's
Yes,
exactly the point of the book, and it's funny you bring that up. It's because that was a required reading for all of us who started working for her. Yep,
yes.
and I still, you know, take notes, or use the notes and use the lessons that I learned from that book and from her today. Even just the idea of writing simple notes to people, thanking them, or we
Mhm.
all do it if we make a mistake in a press release, or if we make a mistake in a email pitch or something, copping to your mistake and just saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I sent this out. It was my mistake and I apologize," and that kind of thing. It's just these little things that I still do take from the Personal Touch.
I That is one of the books that I read that I still recommend to people, that and George Fraser's
Mhm.
book about networking. And because I guess we're OGs in a way, but people, because social media, they feel like they don't have to network the same anymore. Like, I don't have to
Mhm.
mail, I don't have to send a card,
Right.
that I don't have to pick up the phone. How about that? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like, why do you not pick up the phone? Why you
Yeah.
just, so there is that whole piece about it that she talks. But it's funny that Terry, then she wrote Black Pain, and I was actually in Black Pain too, by the way. Talk about
Oh,
a series of episode that I had about depression, because she called me one day and she says, "Hey, I'm looking for stories of people with that have suffered with depression." And I thought she knew that I had suffered with depression. I said, "Well, that's me." She says, "No, I didn't know." And so we talked about
wow.
it, and actually was in part of that book as well. But one of the things that people don't realize, that when she did The Personal Touch, is that she had endorsements. I guess it was, oh my gosh, she has so many. All of her fabulous, famous. So Mary was one of her clients. Cicely Tyson. So all these people gave like endorsements and forwards and things for that book, and also for Black Pain as well, because it was really brave of her to admit about depression.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they call it high achieving depression.
Mhm.
But she was really at the top of her. I mean, she worked with Janet Jackson,
Yep.
Chris Grant. I mean, just so many different people. But she wasn't her background wasn't in journalism; it was in social work.
It was. Yep, that's right.
And
But I
and
I feel like that does, her background lent perfectly to what she ended
yes,
up doing, because she knew how to relate to people, she knew how to talk to them, she understood people and their
hmm
stories, and
hmm
as, a social worker, I think she also had the ability, which is crucial for all of us, is listening. She knew how to listen,
hmm
and I think that that's a big part of her success as a publicist, so
Yes,
yeah,
yes. So when
certainly.
you were there, so you're working with Terry, you were interning with Terry, moved
Yes.
up into an account position, and then where did you land
Well,
after
from
that?
there, one of the accounts that I worked at while at Terry was the opening of the Motown Cafe. And so the Motown Cafe was, at the time in the late 90s, there was this big influx in New York City of theme restaurants, like the Hard Rock Cafe, Planet Hollywood, All Star Cafe. And so we had one, we had Motown Cafe. And I worked, with Terry and with the agency, I worked on the grand opening in New York.
Okay.
From from that event, I connected with Tracy Jordan, who I think a lot of people know right now. She's a absolute superstar veteran in the music industry. She was the publicist at Arista many years ago, but she was one of the co-owners of the Motown Cafe, and we had connected at the event, the grand opening, and from there she said, "Hey, we're building out our publicity team, and I'd love to submit your name. I think you'd be great." And I got hired.
Oh my God. And then from there, that's where were you working with Max Siegel as well? Is that
Yeah, I did, but actually from there, again, from an event I was putting together at Motown Cafe, I did an event with the Backstreet Boys and with Jive
Ooh.
Records. And at that event, I connected with Jazzy Jordan, who at that time was the vice president of Black music at Jive Records. And
Oh.
and I mean, very similar, he said to me, like just a week or two later after the event, he said, "Hey, we're building out our publicity team at the gospel label Verity. I know that you normally don't do gospel, but I'd love to have you. I appreciated your energy at the event and blah, blah, blah. And, will you come in for a chat?" And I said, "Sure, I'll come in." And, at first he was like, we're not, I know that gospel music isn't your thing. And, you've never really worked in gospel music, but, maybe just come in for a couple weeks, just help us out, build the team and see how that goes. And I said, "Okay, sure." I was in between jobs. The Motown Cafe had to close. And so I was like, I need to work, why
Mhm.
not? And, so the first couple weeks turned into like 7 years.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And so one of the things that I want people to realize too, that publicists, um, we don't have magic wands, right? We don't have magic wands.
I need that. I need a magic wand like that. Oh, I don't have a prop.
They think we got these magic wands, right? That we could just like, hey, abracadabra, and you're on CNN or the Today Show. But
Yeah.
the fact that your training was at USC in journalism, majoring in PR. And so I always tell people that publicists are almost like the inverted, uh, we write the stories just like a journalist would. So it has to have the facts, it has to have the news angle, it has to know the news cycle, and all of those things. So being in journalism is key. And people think that when I'm hiring interns or things like that, I say, well, why do you want to go in PR? It's like, well, I like people. Well, yeah, that's part of it. You should like
Yeah.
people, but you should also know about news hooks and how to write a news story. So,
Yeah.
what do you think are the basic skills that you have when people every time you would work on something, you were working your magic, right? You were doing the things that you do. But what do you think are the top three skills that people need to understand what publicists really, really do? What
Yeah.
is the main thing where the people saw that you were doing and say, hey, come work with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, there's a ton of skills that you need to have. And I always say, I mean, although I did graduate with a PR degree and I'm very proud of it, I don't think you need one to be a publicist. So, but I do encourage, however, that anyone who wants to do publicity and do it seriously, maybe take a course. I mean, I think in these days and age, you can take an online course
You could take
anywhere
a
pretty
LinkedIn, you could take a
easily.
LinkedIn course, really,
Yeah, or pop into
no
a
flat.
webinar or something,
Hmm.
just to get, some of the foundational educational aspects of PR, which I think are important. But in terms of what are the top 3 skills, let's see. I think one for me, I'll say my top 3 skills are that have served me well are I'm a good writer,
Hmm.
and I'm a fast writer. I think
Ah,
that that's
that's
important.
key. Yeah.
But I'm also both of those things through practice. I've been writing for a long time now, but then B, reading a lot. I read a lot of stuff. Like I read sports news, entertainment news, current event, regular news, political
Mhm.
news. I read a ton of stuff a lot. And I also do that to see or to understand how something might have been pitched, or how something might have been, received, and then also how people are writing these days and how,
Yes.
maybe how my pitch or my press releases can improve. So
Mhm. Mhm. Good
Hey,
writing and
Hassan
fast
is,
writing. That's
yeah,
what
thanks for
Robert.
watching, Hassan.
Yes, he said good writing and fast writing is key. It
It
is so
is.
true. It is
It
so
is.
true. Just think
Hassan
about.
knows. Hassan is the editor in chief of Root Magazine. So shout out to
Oh, I love
Hassan.
it. Love that.
Yeah.
I love Root. I love Root. That is so cool. Thank you. Thank you. Now, whoever was a publicist working with Chris and Rock and Will Smith, they had to probably get really some things out fast, I'm sure. So let's talk
Well,
about that for a second.
Will did. I mean, he got it out Monday night. I saw, but I did see that. So Chris Rock hasn't said anything, and I am a proponent, and I know it may not be popular. I don't know who's watching, but for me, I don't think Chris should say anything. I think that for him, and I'm glad he hasn't yet, because it may be as a reaction to something,
Mm,
right?
mm.
It was a reaction to that moment, or a reaction to the insane ubiquitous coverage that that moment has gotten. So,
Let's Jojo, let me say this really quick. It got so much coverage
yeah,
that it's been like my in-laws, the
yeah,
Perrys, 92 and 91 years old, called us the next morning, like at 7 in the morning. What do you think about
yeah,
Will and Chris? I'm like, you guys are up this early talking
talking
about
about
Will and Chris. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, it's like gone too far.
Yeah, and I think I mean, of course, it was literally the biggest stage that that kind of thing could have happened. And I was thinking about it the other night, and I felt like also the reason why is it was on television. It was on national network television, and we're not used to seeing that, right? We're used to seeing that kind of shenanigans on Instagram and
Yes,
and
yes,
on
TikTok,
TikTok, or, World Star or whatever. But I
the
think,
shade room.
yeah, and I just think that, people didn't know what to do with it. And so they reacted. They had to talk about it. Everyone had to talk about it, which is fine. But I feel like it's talked to death. Like, no one is solving a thing at this moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, Mr. Rock doesn't pay me. Mr. Smith does not pay me. Miss Pinkett Smith doesn't pay me. So I have really decided, like, I gotta be over it now, because
Mhm.
I think that my opinion about it gets me riled up in a place where I'm like, why am I getting so excited about it?
Right.
Doesn't matter.
And people, I've got and I don't know if you know Karen Taylor Bass. She's one of my best friends. She's the PR colleague as well. And so she did an email today. Talk about spin, right? So this email was such a great spin. So she has a seminar coming up about mental health and awareness and balance. So she kind of said something to the effect at the beginning of it, like, everybody's watching this thing that, you know, um, you know how Will just slapped the mess out of Chris, and how that's just so bad, and it's okay to take your anger, but sometimes maybe there's some mental health issues that you need to really like reel it in and know when the right time to do whatever it was. She says, but I'm doing this yoga and healthy meditation thing on April 27th, and I was like, go on and spin it, Karen. I said,
Right.
what, if
To
we're
bring it
gonna
back in. Call
yeah,
to
if we're
action.
gonna,
Call to
we're gonna
action.
talk about something. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about like what is this really? Okay, and
Yeah.
and if you want to sign up for my webinar, and let's do some chair yoga and do some meditation exercises and get your chakras right, or whatever you need to do in order to figure out why you don't have a public meltdown in the middle of a major thing. So
Yeah.
I just love that. I said, and this was in what 2 days later. She comes out with this. I mean, the seminar was set and the spin for. I was like, that's a
Excellent.
publicist.
Yeah.
It's like, use it for good for you, okay?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And so, for the most part, publicists we are always given a challenge, and writing fast, writing good, having good talent. What are some of the challenges, I guess you would say? So when people come to you and they say, okay, Jojo, I want you to come work with us. I know you have a level head of dealing with the celebrities, but what else is there that maybe you could tell us a little bit behind the scenes? What you, I guess you would say, what is JoJo's secret sauce? What are some of the things
Ooh.
that you do?
I don't
And you
know. I
probably
don't want
know,
to say it.
So,
that people will
probably
steal
some of it
my
you learned from
secret
Terry,
sauce.
though.
No, just kidding. So yeah, so writing, my second thing I would say is understanding media and
Mm,
understanding who you are pitching for, or rather pitching to,
yes.
and does it make sense? I mean, everybody has a news angle. It might not be a national news angle, but everyone has an angle, and understanding that and partnering that angle with the right media outlet is the key to success.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
like you mentioned these mainstream shows earlier, Today's Show and Good Morning America, and back then the Oprah Winfrey Show and whatnot. Um, I'm not taking an artist with his first single ever to the Today Show. You know what I'm saying? Not on his first single and not on any kind of, random pitch, because I feel like, for me as a publicist, I feel like the producers of the Today Show would say, "Now, Jojo, you know better than that. Like, why why are you sending me this?" You know what I'm saying? And I want to maintain my integrity with my media contacts. But I also tell everybody, and a lot of people don't necessarily want to hear it, but the smaller press stuff is important.
Yes.
Black press,
Oh my god, girl, black
niche,
press is
black
everything.
press, gospel press. Well, for me, black press, gospel press, regional press, smaller newspapers, smaller online outlets. All of that is important, because if I can gather and build a profile for you with a ton of really great links to good stories, to good interviews, to good performances online,
Mhm.
now I have an arsenal to which to
Yeah.
go to a GMA or a BET or whatever.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
I always tell people that, a lot of times independent artists or smaller artists will come to me and say, well, I saw you got XYZ on The View or XYZ on GMA. And it's like, well, we're building towards that. So you
Yeah,
still have to do, this long list of calls. And it might not be GMA, but if we put them all together, it's a pretty good reach. And so you can't um, not, be okay with that, I would say.
yeah. And I always tell all of my clients when I'm working with them, don't despise small beginnings. Don't
Yeah.
ignore the black press.
Hmm.
Especially, I said, you never know. Don't snub them. Don't
Never.
don't say that we're going to make an appointment and then you don't want to do it because it's small. I said because you never know where they're going to end up. They might be working for OWN one day, or they might be working for GMA or CNN.
I
You
I
never
say
know.
that all the time, and I also tell that to a lot of artists, especially with, like, smaller performances or smaller bookings, like, you never know, and I know, and you probably know, our industry, very specifically the Black entertainment industry, is niche, and it's small, and I've seen people rise to levels that are incredible, that, someone is now the senior booker at The View or at ABC Entertainment, and so, that person I knew when they were writing for the Detroit Free Press.
Mhm,
You know what
mhm.
I mean? So it was like, if I hadn't maintained that, um, I wouldn't have had that into this huge outlet.
Yes.
So I think it's important, and that is another lesson that Terry did teach is black press, black press, black press. Like, understand the value of it, the power that it has,
Yes.
and its importance, and that has stuck with me. Also, in that I believe that about gospel press as well. I
Mhm.
think, to quote the great Kirk Franklin, gospel music has, gone way too far, and it's huge now, and it's popular, and it's mainstream, and it's national, and I love that it deserves to be all of those things, but I still think that there's an importance in building your base and doing gospel press and doing gospel radio.
It is. I miss the physical issue of Gospel Today
Oh
magazine.
yeah.
Dr. Theresa Harrison, give her a
Yeah.
shout out. She's a friend of both of ours, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
she was a trailblazer in that, and she started
Was.
that whole uh magazine with just a newsletter because she
She
just
did.
really wanted to share information about music. So that's one of the things. And so she started with the newsletter. People were nice to her then, and then eventually she was nice to them, putting them on covers. And they were just relationships. Again, things that we learned from Terry Williams about relationships, or George Fraser about relationships, and not really snubbing anyone. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that publicists, we do have relationships with people, but sometimes, the media, they're busy. It may take up to maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 times before sometimes they respond. And a lot of times, well, most times we can't really take it personally. We have to have thick skin, but we
Yeah.
just have to do the best that we can in terms of when we're pitching. A lot of times, some clients are just so focused on, like, I need to be on these 3 outlets. And it's like there's a gazillion in between that, and we're building
Yeah, there are. And I will
that.
share this story. I have been working with Brian Courtney Wilson for a long time, several years now. I
Oh, I
see
love him.
he's
Yes, he's the real deal.
amazing. Yes, he is in many ways, but he definitely is. And I
Mhm.
know, or his manager Chris is in the chat, so I want to shout him out. I see him
Okay.
in the chat,
Yes,
but
he is.
I do want to share the story that there he is. Um, we were able to book Brian for GMA3 for their Christmas holiday special. So yeah, and so Brian had a Christmas record, his first Christmas record that came out last year in December. But I had been pitching Brian to the bookers at GMA for years. Literally, like 4 records ago, I had been pitching Brian. Like every time I think, okay, this is a song that could work for this time or this time. And I know they were sick of me. I know they were. They were like, all right, Brian, 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 Brian. Like, but finally, when I said, oh, Brian has a Christmas record out, are you guys booking holiday music? And they said, actually, yeah, we are. And so it was able to work
To match
that way. And so yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's definitely persistence. It's, I always tell
timing.
people it's timing, but for publicists, it's like a thankless biz, and you definitely get no's more than you get yeses.
Yes, that's
And
the truth.
it's really about reminding yourself that you'll get a yes, and you're making an effort. And so, the no's sometimes will pile up, but you just got to keep going.
Mhm. Rocky says, "Opportunity favors the prepared." That is so true. And Rocky Harris
Absolutely.
wants to connect with you. She wants to make sure that you add her to your media contacts list. She's
Oh,
out of Detroit.
please.
She's out of Detroit, Michigan. So yeah, she
Yeah,
has a
I've talked
show.
to Rocky, I
Yes,
think.
yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'll email you, Rocky. Thanks for watching.
Cool, cool. So the last thing that I want to ask you is really, what advice would you give those that are trying to decide whether they need to hire a publicist, or when they do hire the publicist, what they can expect? What kind of advice would you give those that are relatively, they have some cachet online, they got the social media juice going, and and their friends, Larry Moore and Curly are saying, hey, you need a publicist,
You need a
you
publicist.
need to be out there big time, and you need to be in Essence and whatever, whatever. And, it's like, so then they hire you or hire me, and then it's like, we've gotta start small. I mean, you've got a social media following, but you've got to figure out, it's almost like, call people, it's almost like double dutch. You gotta know when to jump in,
Yeah,
you know?
well, for me, at least in this stage, when that happens, like when people come to me and say, "Hey, we want to hire you. I think I'm ready." There's a list of questions that I will ask them, to
Mm,
onboard. I literally just had a call, before we got on, for a potential new client, and it was just a list of things, because it's important to understand, what are the client's expectations? Like, where do you want to see this
yes.
PR campaign going? If you're going to put all this money into a PR budget, I'd love to hear where you would like it to go. What are your goals? What are your expectations? And then also, I also say, especially in the music world, what else are you doing around the release or around the song? What are the other marketing efforts? What are your radio efforts? What are your promotional efforts? What are your
Mhm,
digital efforts?
mhm.
Because
Digital is
PR,
important.
yeah, PR does not happen in a vacuum. You can hire the greatest PR person. You can hire me, and if there's nothing else happening, I have literally no drivers. You haven't performed the song anywhere, even at your church. I have no video assets that you're not servicing it to radio. Um, what do you want me to do with it? You know what I mean? So
How about if
it's
they
like,
don't have a website? It's like, you know what? I can't even help you.
yeah,
I have gone to the point where it's like, these are the baseline things that you need.
yeah,
And I work with speakers and authors. So speakers and
yeah.
authors, obviously you want to speak. Do I have some footage of you speaking? How about
Yeah,
that?
and
No, I
absolutely.
don't have that, but you wanna be on major pop platforms, but I don't have you
Right.
speaking, and so part of that whole expectations is really, really key, managing expectations, because everything is not as easy as it seems, and
Mhm.
everything take longer than it everything takes longer
Does.
than you
Yeah.
really think. It
Yeah,
really
everything definitely takes longer. Um, everything is a building. Thank you, Rocky. Everything is
Mhm,
a building process. That's exactly right. And then
mhm,
also PR, I always say it's like a pie. So PR is a piece of it, right? If the whole pie is your marketing, PR is just a piece of it. And there's
yes.
so many other things to allow you to be successful. And so I encourage everyone or new clients, potential new clients, or anyone looking for a publicist to think that through. Like you said with your magic wand, PR isn't just we're going to wave it, there it is, and you're going to be a star the next day.
No, no, it is. And it's really, when I think about some of the people that the story that is the most exciting for me is when I was doing a book for Dr. Pat Bailey. She's not a singer, but she's an author, she's a minister and evangelist, and she's a
Hmm.
missionary. And I mean, she'll go from Katrina to the tsunami. I mean, she's just a real missionary, helping people wherever there is a need. And her and her team are there. And she wrote a book called Women Risk Takers. It came out in March, and she really all the proceeds were going to help women who were being trafficked. And so it was a really, really good book. She took all the women from the Bibles and just really talked about why they were risk takers and why they were the people that we look up to. And I was pitching and pitching and pitching, and of course, a lot of the black press would pick her up, and a lot of the gospel press. But I was really trying to get that evangelical press for her, and finally, Charisma. She ended up on the cover, and then not just that she's
Excellent.
on the cover, but the title said "A Woman on a Mission." Oh, it was beautiful. I was
Yeah.
like, "This is everything." So some people like TV and stuff like that, but that print cover, a woman on a mission, and she just looked not like the typical missionary. I mean, she had the lashes and the coiffed hair and the sequins, and just like, oh, Dr. Pat Bailey, you did that. I was like, this is it. But it helped her ministry grow. It helped.
Oh, uh-oh. Did she go away? Pam? Uh-oh. Am I still on? I think I'm still on. Hi, Damon. If you're still watching, I think we're still live. Are you guys still there? Can you put something in the comment? Let me know. Uh-oh. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna hang up because I don't know what happened. But if you guys are still watching on Facebook, thank you for tuning in. You guys can reach me at ignition-pr.com. Bye. Or on Instagram at ignitionpr. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye.
Okay. Well, this was when technology works, it works. So okay. So Jojo left and I had a internet thing, but you know what? You can continue. Thank you and talk about your point until she comes back. Exactly. Thank you, Robin. So Jojo, I don't know. Yes, I want you to come back. So Jojo is going to come back in and I just love her. For one, she's been consistent. And so one of the things that you want to make sure, there you are. My computer is asking me, do I want to record?
I'm back.
Yes. And I said, my Mac just asked me, do you want to report a problem? It just shut down. Yes, I'm going to report you and I'm going to call after this call. So yes, I do want to report you. Hey, thank you guys for keeping with us because we had some more things that we were just on the cusp of really talking about right
Yeah,
here.
I want to reply to Rocky. I was just on the Facebook and I saw she asked a question, so I want to
Okay.
answer her. She asked me what the there it is, the origin for the name of Ignition PR. So I do want to share this because I'm super proud of it.
Okay.
Well, I can't take credit for it because I literally was sitting there one night, like I had just left Verity. I was thinking about what am I going to do next? Like, do I really want to be an independent PR person? Should I just go get a job? And I was sitting there and it literally just hit me. Like God, I felt like God just downloaded the name
Hmm.
because I was thinking about what is PR? Like what does PR do? What do publicists do? And I say they start something. They start conversation, they start creativity, they start interest. And then I was just kept thinking and thinking and I said start. Like what is the start of something? And
Mm.
I felt like an
Igniting it.
ignition.
Yes.
And that's where the start of the company is.
I
So thank you
love
for
it.
that question, Rocky. I love telling that story because I amaze myself sometimes when I thought of the name, truly. So
Well,
thank you.
that's one of the things too that Ministry Marketing Solutions, Vita Brown, I met her in 2000 as well, when the business first started. And one of the things that I really want to do, Vita was doing music and she does music really well, but I want to help authors and speakers, but I want to help them that it felt like it was their ministry, not just any author and speaker, but those that felt like they were called to do and change the world. I think books change the world anyway. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to call this. I had just had this other company that I was working with, Perry Marketing Group. It was really my husband's company, and I didn't want to say it didn't say what that was. And again, something that was just when you know it, you know it. But Ministry Marketing Solutions came to me,
That's
and it was
great.
like, I don't know what to do with this. This sounds almost like sacrilegious, like you're going to put ministry and marketing in the same sentence. And it was like, but that's really what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are branding the message of faith, of
Yeah.
God. I mean, if I can promote hamburgers and cars, I'm from Detroit, so I was working with automotive companies. Definitely I can market a ministry, right? So
Right.
that's where the name came from. And it's something that you know when you're knower. And you've
Yeah.
been doing this for almost 20 years. I've been doing it over 20 years. It's just something that you do and you would do it naturally. And I like your consistency, the
Thank you.
consistency, even with your TikToks, with your little puppy dog over
Yeah,
there.
he's over here sleeping. Oh, he just got up, but he's over there. So the TikTok star is over there.
Yeah, the TikToks are. Peppy is kind of like a little shy about it. He's like, "Oh my God, here she comes with this darn TikTok stuff." And it's like, well, you got
Well,
to get your own page.
he's a pandemic dog, so he grew up around the camera. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so he used to Zoom and all this kind of
Right.
stuff, all the
He's
camera
used
stuff.
to it. Like I always have a camera in front of him taking like a million pictures and videos. So
Well, I just want to thank you. Just I didn't want it to abruptly end like that, and
yeah,
I wanted
thank
you
you.
to definitely come back. And is there anything that you're working on that we can support you on that you have coming up, or are you going to be in person anywhere that we can come and see you and give you a
Come see
hug?
me. Come see. Well, no, but I do want to make mention of one thing.
Okay,
You mentioned Dr. Theresa Harrison
I love
earlier.
her. Yes.
And I worked with her last year, and I want to let everyone know and for everyone to go check her out. She has a book out that talks about her journey as how she started her magazine from a newsletter and how it grew and all the things that she had to do, coupled with a lot of really interesting personal stories about her life and what she had to go through and being a single mom with twins. And it's a really
Mhm.
great book. So go check her out, Dr. Theresa Harrison. It's called Unstoppable. And I know that if you just put it in the Google, you can find the link. There it is
Mhm.
to purchase the book.
Mhm.
I won't be anywhere, but everyone, I can share that I will be turning 50 this year.
What?
So
Oh!
yeah. Hand
That's a
clap,
big,
hand clap, hand clap. Yep. So I'm turning 50, so it's a big year for me. I won't be anywhere where you probably can see me, but you can come see me on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm at Ignition PR on all of the social media.
oh, I love that. I love that. So that's definitely one of the ones where Ignition PR. When's your birthday? When's the birthday?
In June 26th.
June 26th. Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right. I'll remember that. I'll remember that. June
Yeah.
26th. A big 50. I remember
Big
when I
50.
turned 50. That was a while, 12 years ago, actually. And I decided to produce a magazine. So I have Speakers Magazine, which is for speakers and
Yeah.
authors like that. So this is Speakers Magazine. So, but when I turned 50, I wanted to produce like a almost like a journal. And so I asked all my clients, what do they think? What did branding mean to them? And
Oh.
so I asked people like Dr. Sujay, Dr. Stacia, all those clients that I had at that time, what did branding mean to you? And I put it in like it was a magazine, it was a digital magazine, and I actually printed out some copies and things like that. And I look at it, and basically it was like the beginning of what I see now as Speakers Magazine
Yeah.
5 years ago, because I put their contact information, how to contact them, what they thought their bios were, and what branding meant to them. All of them answered the same question. It was just actually I'm gonna pull that out because that was really good stuff. This was
That's excellent.
before social media, right?
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, so that's one of the things too. So do something different 50 on your birthday. I don't, do a birthday
Oh,
shoot, or I don't know. What do
well,
people do
I
when they
don't know
turn
about,
50?
but there might be a little something planned, but
I love
might
it.
not necessarily be for the TikTok or the gram, so we'll see.
Okay, all right, all right. Damon gives you a toasted right there.
Yeah. But I do want to say, I mean, you made a good point about how you started with that journal. I mean, for anybody, trying to get into either PR or marketing or, even a writer or music, like whatever that little small idea that you do have, it might start out small, which is great, but then look at what it's turned into and what it's grown into. So, just go for it. Even if you think
Hmm.
like 5 people will watch or 5 people will be interested, in a minute it'll turn to 500 people.
That's true.
Like I've watched a million interviews with Tabitha Brown, and the one thing that I always take from her and that I'm always inspired by every time she says it, and I act like it's the first time I've heard it and I've heard her say it so many times, is that she was doing videos. The Lord told her to start doing videos. She was doing videos and she was like, 10 people were watching, 11 people were watching. And she was like, why am I doing this? But she stayed obedient. And then there was that one main video, and it literally took off. And within like a year and a half, 2 years, she has exponentially
Mhm,
exploded. And so
mhm,
that
mhm.
to me, and just like you were saying, how you started with your journal that turned into the magazine, or how Dr. Harrison started with her
Covered the news.
newsletter,
Mhm,
and then became the leading Christian magazine. Like all of these things, just it might not be this big thing when you start out to be, but it's intended to grow. So
it's a
yeah,
seed.
everyone keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, it's a seed. You gotta water it, you gotta give it sun, you
Yeah,
do have to nurture it, and it does take time,
yeah,
and if it's worth it, it's worth it for you to stick with it. You should stick with it. It's not gonna happen overnight. I know we see all these different things like, "Oh, you could do this in 30 days, and you could do this, whatever." If it happens in 30 days, trust me, it's not gonna be like the big thing, okay? It's just really not. It will fail
yeah.
because it doesn't have enough foundational things to go along with it. So, Jojo, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you
want people to
again.
go to ignition-pr.com to find out more about her and engage with her. on social media at Ignition PR. I saw that Damon put that down there
Thank
as
you,
well.
Damon.
So, yes. So
Damon's
thank
an excellent marketer, so he knows the CTA. He knows the call to action. Thanks,
There
Damon.
you go. There you go. And so, we do this, Get Out Here, Get Known. It's my PR colleagues, and I just really, really love you and appreciate your consistency. I am going to go and call Terry and tell her that we were giving her a shout out today and that we
You
love her.
bet.
I know she's
You
retired,
bet.
but
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that we're just always going to love her. So thank you so much for joining us today, the Get Out
Thank
There and Get
you.
Known podcast. All righty. God
Thank you
bless.
so much. God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help